Welcome to this deep dive. You know that feeling when it's like you're carrying something heavy, maybe you can't quite see it? Job stress, maybe things in relationships feeling tight, just the sheer weight of everything you need to do.
Yeah.
It can feel like a real pressure, almost like being held down.
That sense of things closing in, it's something many people experience, I think.
And when that happens, the idea of just breaking free, well, it can be so powerful, can it?
Definitely.
Quitting the job, maybe ending the relationship, just creating some space.
That initial moment, the immediate aftermath, yeah.
It can feel like this incredible rush, like, freedom.
The release of tension, absolutely. A feeling of lightness maybe taking over.
Totally. But then what comes after? You know,
Yeah.
that quiet?
Yeah.
Or maybe that sense of something missing.
Yeah, an underlying unease sometimes.
Exactly. You thought you'd found freedom, but there's this nagging feeling, this restlessness. It's like the core issue hasn't actually gone away.
Well, often, removing a source of immediate stress does provide relief, that's true.
Sure.
But it doesn't necessarily address the deeper patterns, the ones that created the stress in the first place.
And that's really what we're digging into today, isn't it? This idea that what we call freedom is sometimes it's actually escape. We're trying to outrun the discomfort, the responsibilities, the commitments, maybe even the feeling of being accountable.
It's like seeking peace by altering our external circumstances, trying to fix the outside.
So, thinking about this, have you ever felt that urge, that strong pull to equate freedom with running away? Running from people who feel difficult, maybe, or from situations that feel overwhelming, even from parts of yourself that you find challenging to face.
Just take a moment with that.
Yeah, just notice what happens maybe in your body as you consider that question.
Any tension, any holding, any, resistance that might pop up.
Because what if that feeling of being trapped, that sensation of being confined, what if that was actually a valid signal, something important to pay attention to?
It often is a powerful message.
But then, here's the crucial follow-up question, maybe. Was the real problem those external things you wanted to escape from?
Right?
Or was it something more internal, something deeper going on?
That feeling of being trapped, it is a powerful message. But the immediate desire to escape can sometimes, it can prevent us from understanding what that message is truly about.
Okay, let's unpack this a little then. We're looking at this through a lens that talks about how we move through experiences almost like a cycle, right?
Yeah, like a cycle of sensation first, then awareness, then mobilizing ourselves, taking some kind of action, and then making contact, really engaging with the experience.
When this natural flow gets disrupted, that's where things get tricky.
Exactly, when we don't fully allow ourselves to feel the initial sensation, perhaps, or we rush past the stage of really understanding what's happening inside.
Like skipping a step.
Yeah, think of it like this. The sensation is the first knock at the door. If we immediately run and hide, that's the escape. We miss the chance to see who's actually there and, what they might need.
Right. Okay. So we feel the pressure, the discomfort, that's the initial signal, the knock. But instead of becoming aware of what that discomfort is trying to tell us, we jump straight to the action.
Escape. We quit, we leave, we isolate.
Yeah.
The energy just gets immediately channeled into that escape route, and that prevents us from fully processing the underlying feelings or maybe the needs that triggered the discomfort. It's like hitting the mute button on a really important message.
And that can leave us with what's sometimes called unfinished business.
That's a good way to put it.
These incomplete experiences just sort of linger. They hang around, influencing how we react later on, maybe without us even realizing why.
Yeah.
It's that persistent unease you can't quite put your finger on.
These unresolved experiences, they create a kind of internal pull, almost a demand for completion. And that can show up as, a recurring urge to escape similar situations down the line. Imagine a song that starts playing in your head and then just abruptly stops mid-verse.
Right, you keep trying to finish it.
Exactly. You might find yourself unconsciously trying to finish the tune later on. It's a similar kind of pull with these emotional experiences.
Okay, so think back maybe to a time when you made a really significant change because you felt totally stuck, boxed in. Did that change, that escape, actually resolve the underlying feeling? Or did a similar kind of discomfort just resurface later, maybe in a different context or with different people?
That's a key question. Often the external change offers a temporary sense of relief, for sure.
Yeah, that initial rush we talked about.
Right, but the internal patterns, the ones that contributed to that feeling of being stuck, if they haven't been addressed, they tend to repeat themselves.
Hmm. So maybe you left a job because you felt stifled, by constant oversight.
Micromanaged.
But then, even in a new role, maybe one with more autonomy, you might still experience this underlying anxiety about being watched or controlled.
And what's really interesting there is how the external trigger can shift,
Right.
but the internal experience persists, which suggests that the root of the feeling wasn't solely the external situation itself.
Right. So in those moments when you felt that strong desire to escape, did you ever maybe take a moment to ask yourself, what am I really trying to get away from here? Was it just the situation itself, the job, the person? Or was it something deeper within you, perhaps a fear of, I don't know, not measuring up, maybe a feeling of inadequacy?
And that requires a courageous turn inward, doesn't it? A willingness to gently explore the vulnerabilities, maybe the beliefs that might be contributing to that overwhelming feeling. It's not always easy.
No,
Yeah.
it's really not. It's almost a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
We often think freedom lies in getting away from things.
Yeah, subtraction.
But sometimes that very act of escape just leads us right back to facing the same internal struggles, maybe just in a different disguise.
Because true freedom, perhaps, it isn't really about the absence of challenges or discomfort.
So what is it about then?
Well, maybe it's more about how we choose to be with those experiences when they arise, how we relate to them.
Ah, okay. So this perspective, it suggests that genuine freedom involves being present,
Yes.
being aware of what's truly happening inside us, and then taking responsibility for our responses, rather than just reacting to external pressures by trying to, bolt.
It shifts the focus, doesn't it? From trying to constantly change the external world to maybe cultivating a different relationship with our inner world.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you listening now. What are the obligations or situations in your life right now that feel the most burdensome, the most constraining?
And there's no need to judge them, just simply notice what comes up.
Yeah, just notice. And where in your body do you feel that sense of weight or pressure? Can you locate it?
Is there maybe a tightness in your chest? Or a knot in your stomach? Tension in your shoulders, perhaps? Our bodies often hold the emotions, the stresses we might be trying to avoid.
Okay. Now, this might seem a little counterintuitive at first, but what if you were to just gently lean into that sensation, just a little bit, instead of trying to push it away or ignore it?
What might you discover if you allowed yourself to fully feel it, just for a moment, without judgment?
Allowing the feeling to simply be there without immediately trying to fix it or run from it.
That can often reveal the deeper longing, perhaps, or the unmet need that lies beneath the surface of the discomfort.
Yeah. Maybe underneath that feeling of obligation is a really deep desire for connection that hasn't been acknowledged.
Or maybe a yearning for purpose that isn't being fulfilled in your current situation.
Or even just a fundamental human need to feel like you belong, These are the things that truly give our lives meaning, aren't they? It's not just about the absence of difficulty.
Absolutely. These core human needs, they often get obscured by the feeling of being overwhelmed or obligated. Recognizing them can fundamentally change our relationship to those very obligations.
So freedom isn't necessarily about severing all those ties that feel restrictive. Maybe it's more about consciously choosing which connections you want to nurture.
Yes, choosing which threads you want to weave into the fabric of your life.
Recognizing that every commitment, every responsibility, yeah, it carries a certain weight,
It does.
but it also holds a potential for deep meaning and value.
It's about making intentional choices, perhaps. Aligning our actions with what truly matters to us deep down, rather than simply reacting to what feels uncomfortable in the moment.
So the key isn't always to avoid the things that feel challenging,
No.
but maybe to step into them with awareness, with your eyes open, making a conscious choice about how you want to engage.
Yes, and that shift in perspective, that mindful participation, that can be the very beginning of true freedom.
A freedom that's rooted where?
Rooted in our authentic selves, maybe? In our values and desires, rather than in that reactive impulse to just escape.
Okay, so as we begin to bring this deep dive towards a close, let's just revisit that central idea again. Freedom, as we've explored it here, it isn't just about the absence of constraints or difficulties.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally about your capacity, your ability to choose how you engage with those constraints.
Right. And that requires, as we said, a willingness to be present,
to be aware of your inner landscape.
And to take responsibility for your choices.
It's an internal transformation, really.
Yeah.
And how we relate to our external circumstances and the commitments we hold.
Yeah.
So think again, just for a moment, about those obligations in your own life that feel the most pressing right now.
Without judgment. Just bring them to mind.
And reconnect with where you feel those sensations in your physical body. Where does it show up?
What is the physical manifestation of that feeling of being burdened? Where does it reside in you?
Now, gently, just imagine leaning into those sensations. What if, within that very discomfort, lies a deeper truth waiting to be uncovered?
Perhaps a longing for deeper connection.
Or a yearning for a more meaningful purpose?
Or that fundamental need for belonging. Those essential threads that ultimately bind us to a life of meaning, not just a life free from suffering.
Because these deeper longings are often the very things we are unconsciously seeking when that urge to escape arises, aren't they?
Very possibly, yes.
So, true freedom, as we've been discussing, is about consciously choosing which of those threads you want to weave into your life.
Acknowledging the weight they might carry, absolutely.
Yes.
But also recognizing the intrinsic worth and value of every single commitment you choose to make.
It's about intentionality, aligning our choices with our deepest values and aspirations. So here's a final thought for you to really consider, to sit with. What would it mean to live as if every single obligation in your life were, at its core, actually a choice? To approach each one not as a burden forced upon you, but as a genuine opportunity. An opportunity to express your deepest values, maybe, to act on your core desires, to connect with your own humanity and maybe that of others.
What new possibilities might emerge if we shifted our perspective from one of, say, obligation to one of conscious, intentional engagement?
Just allow that question to settle within you. Really let it land. Let any answers or even more questions unfold in their own time, in their own way.
Because this exploration of freedom, it's not a quick fix, is it? Or a simple destination.
Not at all. It's an ongoing, expansive journey of self-discovery.
A continuous process, really, of learning about ourselves, reflecting on our experiences, and making conscious choices about how we want to live.